Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something we all use every single day, but seriously, almost nobody is formally taught. We're talking about the essential pillars of financial literacy. If you're looking for some solid beginner's advice to finally get your money working for you, well, you're in exactly the right place. Because the core idea here is that financial literacy isn't just crunching a bunch of boring numbers, it's literally the bedrock of your long-term security. Getting a handle on this gives you total control over your choices and completely slashes your stress levels. We're building a resilient, sustainable future here, no matter where your starting line is today.
All right, let's jump right into a massive reframe. Financial freedom is not about how much money you make, but how much you keep, how hard it works for you, and how wisely you manage it. I absolutely love this quote because it makes it crystal clear. Financial freedom is a strategy, not just a salary. You know, we get trapped thinking, man, if I just got that raise or if I just made a little more, all my money stress would vanish. But as the source material points out, it is all about what you keep, how hard those dollars hustle for you behind the scenes, and your day-to-day management. You can start working toward financial freedom right now, regardless of the size of your current paycheck.
So how do we actually get there? We're going to walk through this exact four-part blueprint. First, redefining your financial freedom. Second, building that crucial safety net. Third, conquering high-interest debt. And finally, securing your financial future.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, redefining your financial freedom. This is all about laying down that foundational bedrock for long-term security.
Okay, here's the deal. Financial literacy is built on 5 core pillars: building an emergency fund, following a budget, eliminating debt, investing long-term, and protecting your wealth. Think of these like the load-bearing walls of a house. Getting these structural pieces in place gives you ultimate control. But here's the catch. You have to build them in order. If you try to jump ahead, like, say, throwing money into investments before you've got an emergency fund, your financial house is going to be incredibly wobbly. It's kind of like trying to put a shiny new roof on a house while the basement is actively flooding. We have to be strategic here.
So let's start laying those bricks right now in Section 2, building your safety net. We're focusing on immediate stabilization through budgeting and emergency funds. The absolute ground rule for anyone starting this journey: you have to ruthlessly track where your money's coming from and exactly where it's going. I mean, you can't manage what you don't measure, right? This means rigorous tracking of your income and your expenses. And yeah, that means coming face to face with exactly how much you're actually spending on takeout coffee every month. Look, I know it sounds a little tedious at first, but getting a clear, brutally honest picture of your cash flow is literally the only way to take back the steering wheel.
Now, to make that whole budgeting thing a lot less painful, we use the 50-30-20 rule. It perfectly chunks out your income once you're tracking it. So, 50% of your income is locked in for your non-negotiable needs. We're talking housing, utilities, groceries. Then, 30% is carved out for your wants. Yes, dining out and having fun are absolutely still part of a healthy financial life. And finally, the real game changer, 20% is strictly dedicated to savings and debt repayment. Sticking to this ratio completely transforms your relationship with money.
And that 20% savings chunk, that feeds directly into your very first major milestone: a fully funded emergency fund covering 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. To find your number, just take what it costs you to simply survive for 1 month, basically that 50% needs bucket we just talked about, and multiply it by 3 to 6. Boom, there's your target goal.
But where should this safety net actually live? Well, it needs to be in a liquid, easily accessible savings account. This is definitely not the money you want tied up in a volatile stock market or some restricted retirement fund. This cash has one job and one job only: to act as your financial shock absorber. Keeping it liquid means it's right there waiting to protect you from life's sudden curveballs. You know, a medical emergency, a sudden job loss, so you don't have to swipe a credit card just to survive.
All right, with our safety net securely in place, it is time for Section 3, conquering high-interest debt, and finally escaping that toxic debt trap. Before you can realistically build wealth, we have to stop the bleeding. And that means prioritizing what the source calls toxic debt. We're talking about high-interest obligations, usually credit card balances. These interest rates act like a massive anchor, just dragging you down way faster than you can paddle forward. To put it into perspective, making only the minimum payment on a credit card can mean you end up paying double the original price of whatever you bought over a decade. It's wild. You simply can't sustainably invest for your future if you're paying astronomical interest rates to a credit card company. This toxic debt has got to go.
Now, if you're juggling multiple debts, you've got a strategic choice to make. You can hit them with the debt avalanche, which means targeting the debt with the highest interest rate first, or you can use the debt snowball, knocking out the smallest balance first. So what's the play here? Do you want to save the absolute most money mathematically with the avalanche? Or do you really need that quick win and psychological momentum of wiping out an entire account using the snowball? Honestly, they are both totally valid. The right choice is simply the one that keeps you fired up and aggressively paying down that toxic debt.
With that toxic debt finally in the rearview mirror, let's move on to our final step. Section 4. Securing your financial future by investing and protecting your wealth.
Okay, this is where the magic really happens. When you are investing for the long haul, patience is hands down your absolute best friend, because it lets compound interest exponentially grow your wealth over time. Compound interest is basically your interest earning its own interest. There's a very good reason Albert Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. By starting early and just staying consistent, you aren't just hoarding cash. You're putting it to work. You're giving it a 24/7 job to multiply itself. So, how do we actually deploy those investments? Well, the source emphasizes the golden rule: diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You should be looking at a mix of low-cost index funds, specific retirement accounts, and other assets. But here is the absolute key. Your investments always need to match up with your personal risk tolerance and your specific timeline. Because let's face it, the strategy for someone who is retiring next year is going to look completely different from someone who just cashed their very first paycheck today.
Finally, we have to remember that building wealth is really only half the equation. Keeping it is the other half. You absolutely must protect what you've built by securing adequate insurance coverage across 3 vital categories: health, life, and property. Think of this as your defensive line.
Because honestly, without this final protective pillar, every ounce of your hard-earned progress could literally vanish overnight. Adequate insurance is there to safeguard your financial progress from those catastrophic, out-of-nowhere setbacks. Whether it's a major medical diagnosis, a house fire, or needing to provide for your loved ones in the worst-case scenario, insurance is what makes sure a personal tragedy doesn't spiral into a permanent financial catastrophe.
And there you have it. You now have the complete step-by-step blueprint for genuine financial freedom, all the way from tracking your very first dollar to letting compound interest build your future. You've got the knowledge, but obviously, knowledge requires execution. So I'm going to leave you with this question. If a major financial storm rolled into your life tomorrow, which of these pillars would you wish you had built today? Don't wait for the storm to find out. Pick just one piece of this blueprint, take action on it right now, and start laying the foundation for your secure, stress-free future.